Welcome, everyone. I'm Barbara Gustafson with Discover Next Step Coaching. And during this pandemic, many people are struggling with various things at home. And the thing that isn't helping any of us is being hard on ourselves. We need to be more loving and compassionate to ourselves and each other while figuring this thing out. So I'm reaching out to local businesses to help share tips of what people can do to honor themselves, honor their mind, their body, and their soul during this time. And you're going to love our guest today. So I'm going to share a little bit about her, and then I'm going to let her share some wonderful tips. So Angela Santiago grew up in Germany. She lived on the outer skirts of a small town in Bavaria, where using holistic remedies were just a daily way of living. And after moving to the US, she slowed down and pursued her passion to learn more about herbal remedies, holistic remedies, mainly for her own family. And then in the mid 90s, her path to healing practice expanded while studying the gentle art of healing touch for health, and eventually emotion code. And in addition, Angela's deep-rooted love for herbal medicine also led her to becoming a certified aromatherapist, which she specializes in nearly for a decade to support and balance clients' emotional ups and downs safely and naturally. So Angela, welcome. We're so excited to have you.
Thank you so very much, Barbara. I'm delighted to be here.
Yes, and we met I think it was about 2 years ago, which is a beautiful story. We'll have to share that another time. If you could
Yes.
share us a little bit more about your journey and how you got into this holistic work.
Well, first of all, I really think it's in my DNA. My uroma, which is my great grandma, which I just found out about 10, 12 years ago, she was an herbalist, and she was also a midwife. And I didn't know this until I went to see my uncle in Germany, and he told me and shared a little bit with me about that. And I was like, now I understand why I have such a love for herbal remedies and for holistic way of living. And so my Oma, what she used to do, and I just want to share this really quick so you guys can understand where that love of natural remedies is coming from. She used to go in the woods. She went out in the fields. She gathered leaves and flowers and herbs, and she dried them. She bundled them up, dried them, and then she had this little old beat up suitcase where she literally walked from house to house into other people to help them out. And when I found out about this, it really touched my heart. At least now I understand why I share the same passion. Now, over the last 25 years being here in the States, and I've been here almost actually 36, but over the last 25, I had this passion to study more herbal medicine, study holistic energy medicine, and then lastly, my love for aromatherapy. Everybody that knows me here in town, they know I'm the aromatherapist. And so also having gone through a lot of trauma myself, lots of emotional ups and downs over decades, starting when I was a young child, it really helped me to understand learning about all of these different modalities and how to get out of this. Finding solutions, finding things where you don't feel like you have to be stuck for the rest of your life. And what I like so much and what I want to share with you is that emotional health, hope, and harmony is for every single person out there. It's not just for me. There are solutions. We just have to look sometimes to see where we can find them.
That's beautiful. I love your story too. I hadn't heard you share it quite like that. And one of the reasons why I connected to you just immediately when I met you and also reached out to you now is I came with you just some of my own struggles with emotions and childhood trauma. And what amazed me was that I had this idea with trauma, in order to release it, you had to go through this huge, hard process, and you're all about releasing it gently, which really was compelling for me. So before you share some tips, because you're going to share some really good ones, I've had a chance to hear some of them.
Yes.
In your perspective, what do you think people are going through or struggling with the most during our pandemic when it comes to emotions?
Well, first of all, we have had, viruses and national emergencies, if you will, before. We had the swine flu, we had Ebola, SARS, and I remember back in 2001, we had the anthrax scare. And what happens is people just go into panic mode. However, this one, coronavirus right now, this is something people were not quite as prepared for. And it just happened so very quickly. And because of this fast and quick shock and feeling in panic, there is so much emotion going on out there. There is such a shift going on out there that people have a really hard time getting a hold of themselves. So what I have really truly found within my clientele right now is anxiety is super high, as is fear, and this feeling of being constricted, being stuck in one place. And it's not just physically stuck, not just being physically confined to a house for the most part, but it's that emotional and this mental feeling stuck of knowing I am not allowed to do A, B, and C. So that is really holding people in place and causes a lot of shock and panic. The other thing that I would also like to say is often with this new layer of trauma that is added on, perhaps to some old trauma, is absolutely compounding. Often we don't look at some of the old pre-existing triggers, but they are usually there. Often stuff that we haven't dealt with, or we thought we dealt with it, and now all of a sudden it's surfacing again. And for instance, emotional, mental, physical abuse when someone was a child, or if there was perhaps a significant loss, that loss of someone either dying, or maybe you have lost a business in the past or something happened, it triggers all of this new layer of stuff that we're dealing with right now. And again, it can compound everything. And that can cause people to literally get in such a spin where they feel like they're in a hamster wheel and they are just running and running and running, and there's no way to escape. They are stuck in this little hamster wheel, and oh my God, what are we going to do? And on top of it, what's really important, and I want to point out, many people asking the question, what's next? What is next? What if? What if? What if I lose my job? What if I get sick? What if my family members get sick? There is a lot of what ifs, and all of that causes an unbelievable uncertainty. And it also causes us for our needs that we have on a daily basis not being met. And when our needs are not being met, we feel a huge lack and a huge sense of perhaps hopelessness and helplessness.
That is so interesting. And as you were talking about people already having existing trauma coming into this, that's crossed my mind. The trauma that people are experiencing now. If we do have like a pre-trauma, is it causing worse trauma? And so that's something to think about, because we might be thinking we're just dealing with the current crisis, but maybe there was something happening before that we haven't dealt with. So if you can share maybe some tips that you recommend, I know you've got some juicy ones. I would love to hear.
Well, what I would like to do is first, let me see. I'm going to do a quick tip. So I know a lot of people deal with essential oils. They have some essential oils at home. Some of them don't know what to do with them. So today, my favorite essential oils are citruses. And anybody that knows me, they knows. And they also know that my favorite is lime.
Mm.
It is very refreshing. It is uplifting. It helps to clear the mind. And so what I like for you all to do, and if you want to, you can follow along. Anybody that has a bottle of citrus oil, regardless whether it's orange or grapefruit or mandarin or tangerine, just let your imagination run wild. You can take it directly from the bottle, or you can put it on a little cotton roll or a little cloth, just a couple drops. I use it straight from the bottle. And I just breathe in this aroma. I try to close my eyes to really soak it all in. And this aroma goes straight into the bloodstream, into the brain, and it is literally, I dare say, mood altering in a really good way. So this is a wonderful way to do this. Now, once you inhale this a couple of times, make sure you put the cap back on your bottle. Then you take your hands, you take both of your hands, you put them directly over your heart. Close your eyes, and then you gently breathe in through your nose, hold your breath for a couple seconds, and then breathe out again. And really breathe out until all the air is out of your lungs. And while you're doing this, think of something that is pleasant, something that brings you joy, something that you embrace. And I am telling you, you will shift the energy in your body. It will help to calm your nervous system. It will bring your adrenal activities down. You will feel calmer, more tranquil, but most of all, your spirit is going to be uplifted. And that is really what we're looking for.
That's pretty powerful. I was talking to, listening to an interview with Dr. Amen the other week, and he was talking about what you just said. And his statement was, when you're able to flood your senses, as many senses as you can, with
Yes.
calmness, you can immediately lower your cortisol levels. And when that happens, your arteries start to expand a little bit more, giving more blood flow to the brain.
Yes.
So when you're talking
Absolutely.
about shifting your energy, you're doing it. And for people who are not used to people referring to energy, it's been medically and scientifically proven, and people use different languaging, but I love how you're walking us through that, because that makes sense.
Appreciate it. Well, this is what I do each and every single day. You know, I work with clients every day, and I give them techniques alongside of them working with me to get to a place of serenity, to get to a place where they feel like they can move forward and let go of the old stuff. And what's really nice is, and that's another technique, and I want to share that really quick, installing positive beliefs and meditating on them. So for instance, if a person keeps saying, oh my gosh, I am so scared, I don't know what to do, you're going to turn that negative belief into a positive one by saying, my mind is at ease at all times.
Mm. Wow.
So this is a very short, but yet very powerful statement. And the more we practice in saying these things out loud, the more it can shift our subconscious mind into a better and a more positive place.
Wow. I see that as a healthy distraction.
Yes.
You get stuck in that loop. I've been catching myself saying different things, not realizing I'm repeating that thought over and over. And when we do that, we begin to believe it. So this to me is like, it's going to get me out of that loop, that negative loop, that thought that I'm thinking, and feed it something else.
Yeah. Well, there is a lot of negativity going on these days. And I was thinking about this actually this morning. You know, we all have different inborn temperaments. We all have different personalities and characters. And I think it can bring out either something really good or something not so good out of us. So the temperaments that I'm talking about is, some people are extroverts. So when they are feeling threatened or when they feel dread coming on, the way they express themselves is in a very high energy type manner. They get angry, they can get frustrated, they're really loud, they're very vocal, they can be, maybe they feel like, you're bullying, and just not necessarily bullying, but just being like loud and obnoxious and getting all their anger and their frustration out. But then on the other token, there is the introverts. And those are the ones, I think, as a society, we have to keep our eye a little bit more on the ones that are really quiet, because those are the ones, when they go into a downward spiral, they get very depressed, they get sad, they go within themselves, and then sometimes we hear of suicides. All of this kind of stuff happens. And this is very important when we have family members or friends that are around us, especially right now. Pay attention to the small things. Just see if somebody checks out and is very quiet and goes within themselves. Give them some lime oil to sniff. Give them some of the wonderful citrus oils. Put them in your diffuser. Put a little bit in your hands. Smell them. And then with all the positive beliefs that you're going to learn, just install all of that. These are very simple and easy techniques. But this is what I do. It doesn't have to be hard. You can have an amazing life with just little tiny small little nuggets that we do consistently.
I like easy, and I think especially during this time, our brains are overloaded.
Yeah.
And our brains need something very small and easy, but worthwhile to do. So these are very impactful tips that you're sharing. If you can share one last tip, and then maybe some projects that you're working on. We'd love to know that.
I would love to. So I think one of the most helpful tips, if somebody is stuck and they really are in a downward spiral and they don't know what to do, I would encourage them to seek a qualified holistic practitioner that can really help them out to get out of the funk, especially when they're in the thick of it. Just to at least give them some relief, so they see hope and they see like there's a light at the end of the tunnel, so they can move on forward. To help them get into this unstuck feeling, because I hear this all the time from almost all of my clients. We're stuck. Even when people don't go through a pandemic, they can be stuck because of maybe some inherited stuff, or again, some previous trauma. So, seek somebody out that you feel comfortable with. And that's the key word. You need to find someone that you're comfortable with, that you trust, that you feel connected to. That is when you start getting results. And then number two, if you guys like to go on my website, I have a freebie to give away. I have a 30-minute webinar. No, not a webinar, a podcast. I have a podcast, go figure, right? And it's called How to Turn Emotional Pain into Positive Beliefs. It is 30 minutes. It's fun. It's short. You can listen to it while you go, while you're at home, while you go maybe to the grocery store, if you have nothing else to do. It is really nice. I take a bunch of different negative beliefs. I'm turning them into positive beliefs, just like the exercise we did a few minutes ago. And then I pair them up with the perfect essential oils that are resonating with that specific belief. And you can do just as we did earlier. You take your bottle, you breathe it in, you say your positive belief, you do a heart-centered crossing over your heart, and that also helps you to expand your aura. It expands your lungs, it expands your heart energies, and that is something wonderful to do. And you can listen to this as often as you want. It's free.
That's wonderful. And it always helps to have someone walk us through something, like not just here it is, but here's how you do it. And I know you make your own wonderful essential oil blends. I've had the opportunity to try some. So tell us really quick, because I think my favorite product of yours is the inhaler, just because that I have some sensitivities towards a couple of different oils, and that's one thing I really appreciate about you. You're very knowledgeable on the safety requirements of oils. And so I love the inhaler, just because I don't have to apply it topically. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, since I'm a certified aromatherapist, I am a stickler for safety issues. There are thousands and millions of people that use essential oils, but they're not very familiar with the do's and the don'ts and the dilutions and the safety guards that are really supposed to come with all of that. So my favorites, first of all, I make very safe, custom-made blends for my clients and friends and family and everybody, in roller bottles with all organic ingredients. When I make the roller bottles, there's organic, usually jojoba oil or organic coconut oil that I use, and sometimes aloe vera. It depends. Again, everything is custom made. And this is one of my inhalers that I used this morning before the interview. It's to help me balance my energies. And it's super easy. You can just open it up. You can either put it in your nose or just smell it several times a day, 2, 3, 4, 5 times to your liking. And it truly calms your senses and shifts your energy. And it is absolutely amazing.
Well, I love mine, and I have been known to use it at a stoplight, and I always look to see if someone's watching me.
I have done this too, guilty. And people looking at me like, what is she doing?
What is
But I don't care, because it's not about them, it's about me and my emotional well-being. And I think it is time for us to learn to get back to the basics and make sure that we're taken care of. If we feed our emotional self, then we can help other people a whole lot better.
Yeah. So I'm going to be putting Angela's website in the comments section below, but visit her website. In fact, it is a ray of sunshine, and you'll know what I mean when you see that. It is beautiful. And I'll also post the link to your podcast, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
I'll put it all in the comments. Well, Angela, thank you so much for being my guest. You have added so much value to whoever's listening, and I wish you the very best.
I appreciate it. It was so much fun being here, and I love all of you. And everybody be safe out there.
Absolutely. Be well.